Please stand up. We'll begin the monthly SDG Dharma talk. The order of Dharma talk is as shown in the paper. First, we will do 3 refugees together. I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
Next, we will chant the Hot Sutra printed in the distributed paper. take a seat. Let me get started with the introduction of Hye Tong Sunim, today's teacher. He was born in Korea and finished bachelor degree of Arts and Humanities at Dongguk University in Seoul. He also ordained in Chobe Order in 1996. Please stand up. We will keep three respectful bows to ask for Dharma talk for us. Please take a seat.
Should I begin? Hello, everybody. It's great to see all of you again in person. I think I don't exactly remember when I came for this international Dharma instructor Dharma talk. Probably was, I think, more than 2 years ago, I think. Thinking that this pandemic started 2.5 years ago. And another special thing that makes me feel great is in this gorgeous place in the heart of city Seoul. It's quite, making myself feel a little special here. 잘 안 들립니까? 이제 잘 So, because I was coming from Gyeongsang City, usually if there's weekday and if there is no heavy traffic jam, it takes, if it's really smooth, probably 2.5 hours to get here from the city, my temple, Musangsa. 이걸 여기다 놓고 정면 놓을까요? Probably I have to speak more loudly. Do you hear me?
예.
들리세요?
예.
네. 잘 들리시나 봐요?
이거를
네.
올려주시면 어떨까요?
그럼 요거를 됐습니까? 엎어버린다. 네. This really makes me feel like I'm on the stage. 괜찮아요?
예.
네.
Much better.
So I left Musangsa in Gyeongsang City actually it's in the morning, and everything was smooth because I had enough time. I stopped by rest area, took enough time, took a little walk, and then, of course, I expected some heavy traffic when I enter Seoul. It's also Saturday, and of course it was. I wasn't surprised, but then, especially when you approach this Yangjae, right? The entrance of Seoul. Then I used to face that heavy traffic jam, so I wasn't surprised, but of course that made me start feeling a little tired, and but it was okay still. And then when I just entered Seoul, the town, I passed by this Anguk subway station, and there is a intersection where I was waiting for the green light for the left turn. And then, because I don't drive in Seoul anymore often, I used to live in Hwagesa years ago. At that time, I used to drive in town also Seoul. So, but I kind of lost a kind of sense of this driving in Seoul. And then I was waiting for my traffic light to make a left turn, and it was actually for left turn. So of course I was making forward and just turning to left, but then there's like a long queue to the direction where I had to go, and then suddenly this the traffic light turned to red, just in the middle of I was just turning, and so I was completely blocking the way to both sides of the cars, and the cars started honking so hard, like a so because I have not been in that kind of situation for a long time, where Musangsa is in the countryside, so that never happens. And then, but it was okay, you know. Actually, when I was coming here today, I thought to myself that everything would be practice. Because also my topic today was the classic. Maybe it could sound a little boring to people that about empty mind versus using mind. Basically what the mind is about. Probably millions of times, all of you have read, have listened to Dharma talk about this topic. But then, so as a speaker who was going to talk about this, anything that happened today on the way to get to Beoblyeonsa would be practice on my mind. So then when I just, at the moment, I just got stuck in the intersection, and all the cars were like honking toward me. I'm blocking the way. And then, but I was in the car just a little relaxed because there's no way that I can, what can I do, right? There's no like a space that I can even make a left or right turn, or there's no way to move back. The long queue was just in front of my car. So I just know, I'm sorry, but what can I do? Everything was okay. Nothing really touched my mind. And suddenly, I heard like someone banged this trunk, boom, like this. And I was really kind of startled. And then I saw from my rear mirror that two young boy and girl were on the motorcycle, like this, boiling blood age. Probably they are only maybe teenager, or I think the guy was just banging on my trunk. So probably, wanted to tell me, why are you blocking my way? And then at that moment, my mind was a little shaky. Wow, this is so. So, but just after a second, I just reminded myself, oh, see, I told you, I told you that everything is going to be practiced today, driving in Seoul, in one of the busiest districts. So anyway, then I just arrived, and then I had still 1 hour before this Dharma talk. But I thought, there was a good choice to leave earlier, and then rather just wait here, rather than, I could just stuck in the big traffic jam and maybe I couldn't make it this Dharma talk. And when I just arrived here, surprisingly, I called actually the office, because was so much busier than I thought around this area, and I had no idea how can I actually park. Although I already asked Beoblyeonsa Bosal님 that please reserve a space for my car, and she did actually. So, but then I didn't think about this busy, situation here. And then I was approaching here. Where should I make a turn to park even? And there were all the streets are full of people just walking. And so just in the car, because the car was just hardly moving because there was a big traffic jam still. Then I called Beoblyeonsa office. And this, I just forgot her name, Beoblyeonsa. I just met her today for the first time. I called and one Bosallim answered, and then I just said, where can I park today? I'm coming here to give a talk. And she said, Sunim, I'm going out. Which was right away. So I felt so like kind of relieved. And she just came out, like waved her hand. And she so kindly like guided me to park in front of this temple. And then still I have an hour, and then I thought about actually just go to maybe cafe and a little maybe study what I'm going to talk about. But then I also encountered one very, very old friend, Bosalli. I was so glad to meet after long. Since I was in Hwagesa, we know very well. And then Bosallim just hosted me to the tea room and good coffee, 떡, 콩떡, rice cake, and even the abbot of this temple, Juji-suni, invited for tea. So, wow. I had this moment in the intersection, and fortunately, I was able to kind of manage with my mindset. Sometimes people really go mad in such situation that out of control, your mind. And then in Korean saying, what's this? You're patient for just 1 second. Then that makes you be at rest for next 10 years. 한번 참으면 10년이 편하다고. I hope I translated it okay. So I just thought, I just was able to manage the moment with myself, with my mind. And the next thing, everything was so kind of wonderful. Until now. So yes, today actually, as I informed that I was going to talk about emptying mind and using mind. So I just made this sentence when I was when I got called from Beoblyeonsa Bosallim. She called me a couple of weeks ago to remind me of this talk. Then when she asked me to send herself the abstract of this talk, and I was in a situation, the temple Musangsa where I'm living, as you maybe heard, that's quite multiple cultural community there. Like still, you probably have met them as the Hye Tong Sunim, who is Joshil there. He's American, who is a Zemel Sunsan's student, and we have like about 8 different country Sunims now at Musangsa, and so when I thought about what I could share for this talk was still living and practicing together in that multicultural community, the most frequent issue there is, of course, how to deal with my mind, how to connect with others' mind. Because this, you probably also have experienced the difference of this cultural background is way more than we think. So in Musangsa, I used to say to people, if people come and then what kind of practice in Musangsa generally do, and then living here itself is actually practice, because you every day have to face this difference of culture or the way of thinking. I went to America 1999 for the first time, and it was soon after I became monk. And when I was going there, I already had some experience living in the international community in Hwagesa. That's already when still Dharma Sungsan was alive and teaching there. And then I thought I understood quite okay about this cultural difference, like Western culture. Also, I studied actually some Western literature when I was a university student before I became monk. So I thought probably it wouldn't be too much problem when I was going to America. But staying there for 1 year at the time was really like a different world that I never thought. Because all this, they were so nice people, especially in the Zen center. They respect this Korean Buddhist teaching, especially because that's their root in their tradition. So they just love to see Korean Sunim there. But still, the everyday life, I used to experience, wow, this is so different than I thought. The way they think, the way they kind of take care of the relationship between people. And then, anyway, living in Musangsa is not that different. Now only the position is a little different. I'm kind of living in a hosting country, while our foreign Sunims are living in a foreign country. And also, as you probably heard, in Musangsa, not just Sunims, the monastic, but also a lot of lay practitioners from many other countries come to practice. For example, we have 3 months Kyolche retreat, each in summer and winter, which means actually 6 months of a year are in retreat, Kyolche. And lay practitioners, lay people can come at minimum of 1 week. So many different countries like America, many European countries, also like Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, South Africa, Australia, they come at minimum 1 week, often more than 2 weeks. Some lay people just take a long break from their job and then 1 month or even 3 months. So just interacting with them, practicing together is a huge kind of opportunity to learn about how to deal with my own mind, and also how to actually connect with the others who have different cultural background. But it's very interesting because how can we actually live together and practice together? It's because the very, very basic kind of element as a human is actually not different. So there is a big point that actually that people can connect each other. Just reflecting on this reality, what's going on these days, is probably one of big issues nowadays is, of course, the pandemic, COVID, but it's been too long, so people are kind of a little kind of done with that, tired. Another thing is probably the war in Ukraine. And we had a very special situation in Musangsa because we have both country Sunims. Like we have Sunims from Russia. We had one Sunim from Ukraine. And actually, when war broke out, our Ukrainian Sunim right away, actually, he went back to Ukraine to help his country. And just 2 days ago, now in Gaeryong City, you know, the Korean military army headquarters in Gaeryong, right? So there's now a big kind of a military expo festival. I don't know if you heard about that. It's a small city, but it's an international kind of military expo. Like about 8 different countries, army band were invited to perform. And just 2 days ago, Musangsa Sunims and Shindonims were invited to a forum which called Gaeryong World Peace Forum. So that was hosted by Chungcheongnam-do and the Gaeryong City, cooperated with the army headquarters. And then it was a very interesting situation because I met the organizers from Chungcheongnam-do and Gaeryong-si, and they were asking us to attend there, especially because we have these people from many different countries. So also that's about world peace. So we decided to go, like Jemes Daebong and all our foreign Sunims, myself, and some of our Shindonim went to the forum. It was actually quite big forum, quite well-known actually speakers came as a panelist, and also like a former United Nations, the Korean ambassador came. So it was very interesting, but of course the outstanding speaker was the ambassador from Ukraine. And because our Ukrainian Sunim is now in Ukraine, but our 2 Russian Sunims were attending there, and all this discussion talk about, if that's about war, is about blaming Russia. And 2 Russian Sunims were just sitting behind me. So that was a very interesting situation, but I was not worried at all, because we Sunims, monastics are already saying beyond, you know, this and that. It's not about actually country and nations, right? It's not even about life and death. We try to find, you know, what's the true nature beyond all these opposites idea, good and bad, black, white, American, Korean, Ukraine, Russian. Right, so all opposites idea. So we were not that worried, but as just a person, that wasn't very comfortable. And after this forum finished, we went for dinner in a restaurant in the town, all together, all the Sunims, about 8 country different Sunims, and of course our Russian Sunims joined too. And we even didn't talk about this forum, although it was very interesting. It's not really we intended. When we just arrived there, we started just eating the food, and then as a family members just making joke on that. And it was just a very good kind of gathering, having dinner together. So this human mind is very interesting. Moment to moment deal with that. Just recently, I read a beautiful poem written by Master Imje Sonsa, and then please just let me share with you before I continue. So the mind, ground, holds all seed, xian. When rain falls, sprouts naturally appear. the flower of samadhi is invisible. What will be achieved, what will be destroyed, or what will be gained, what will be lost. 이 마음 땅은 probably let me just hold the switch. 마음 땅은 모든 씨앗을 품고 있는데 the mind ground holds all seeds. 비가 내리면 저절로 싹이 튼다. When rain falls, sprouts naturally appear. 삼매의 꽃은 보이지 않는 법인데 the flower of samadhi is invisible. 무엇을 성취하고 무엇이 파괴되겠는가? What will be achieved, what will be destroyed? So, I think living in this time, I think it's very important to digest this kind of teaching. Because actually, even more than ever, these days, experiencing this all kind of disasters, such as pandemic, COVID-19, and the war, Ukraine, and even not just Ukraine, actually, where we are living in this country. That while I was driving down on the news, there were like over and over talk about this North Korea shoot missile, and we are in kind of danger. If you see like some foreign media like CNN, BBC, it's all about they talk about South Korea now. It's all like it looks like the war is gonna soon maybe broke out. Only probably Korean people don't think like that. So in this time, and also this war, there's an economic problem. What will be achieved? What will be destroyed? If you really attain what this line means, then that means we become true human, and that this all disaster is just one of the phenomena. But just remember, the flower of samadhi is invisible. Nothing really actually can disappear. It's just like our dream. Just to remind you, we have understood that so many times, but while we are experiencing these all disasters, easy to forget. And also, even if you remember, if you just encounter that, some moment that touch your karma, you may just lose it, just immediately. So that's very important. Buddha, as you probably studied, maybe more than me, perhaps. Buddha taught about the three insights. If you attain these three insights, then actually you are there. What we just actually, before this talk, we chanted the Heart Sutra, right? Aje aje bara singaje, gate gate bara gate, prasang gate. That you are already have crossed the river and have attained the nirvana. But what are these three insights that if you have attained it, then you have no problem in just a simple way to say. So like insight into impermanence, insight into impurity, insight into non-self, 무상관, 부정관, and 무아관. Right? So this insight into impermanent, everybody understands everything is impermanent. everything just keeps changing. Nothing is gonna eternal, forever. But when Buddha taught about this insight into impermanence, why people are actually feel suffering? One of the sources that people always misunderstand, the reason why they are suffering is because they don't really get this insight into impermanence. They think everything will be impermanent. But we understand that nothing is going to be impermanent. But still, because we think, oh, my money, or my job, or my house, or my even children, everything, you have some expectation in those things. Which means actually, when those conditions are changing, you cannot just accept it right away. Or either you accept it much later, or maybe ever cannot. So that's why there's a suffering. And so when Buddha taught about this impermanence, insight into impermanence, first talk about these 8 sufferings. This is all actually teaching that you already have studied, probably more than me. But let me just remind, but there is a very good point after I share this again. So the 4 basic sufferings are, as you know, birth, old age, sickness, and death, right? But then there are 4 extra sufferings that Buddha mentioned, right? Then that makes 8 suffering. What's the one? This being separated from those you love. 애별이고. Being separate from those you love. And being in the presence of those you dislike. 원중회고, right? And not getting what you desire. 구부듣고 원하는 거를 얻지를 못해. And the imbalance of the 5 skandhas, Om Sangho. So I will actually talk a little more about this Om Sangho, 5 skandhas, the imbalance of 5 skandhas. But the first 3 things were also, anyway, there are 4 sufferings taught by Buddha. These are a basic 8 sufferings all the human being, if you're a human, experience. Well, everybody understands so well 생로병사, birth, old age, sickness, death. But the next 4 are quite interesting to actually look into. So being separated from those you love. You understand, of course, probably, I can see some of your father or mother passed away. You understand, what the feeling is like. Or even more suffering often is when someone lost their child. And even maybe your son is going to the army as a duty, then all the moms crying. My mom cried for about 3 days. I learned after I went to army before I became monk. But anyway, that all understand, and being in the presence of those you dislike. This is a so interesting part, right? 원중해고. There's always a situation that you have to be in the presence together with those you dislike. 싫어하는 사람하고 같이 있어요. But I sometimes make a joke on this because actually, what the most suffering is actually when you are in that both situation. You are together with those you love, and also at the same time together with those you dislike. Like for example, that used to happen during Gyeolje in Musangsa. People come to retreat Gyeolje, and one of the popular reason because they come to meet the teachers, and they meet many wonderful practitioners, Dharma fellows. But if you actually sit retreat, often with your roommate, you have a lot of issues. It's just for nothing you hate that person. Or those who are sitting next to you during retreat. Have you ever been in some kind of retreat? How do you say this? 참선 수련회? Right? If that lasts more than 3 days or 4 days, and the same person always next to sit you in meditation, there's a lot of karmic things going on without saying anything. And for no reason, often people hate each other. And then so that's the situation that actually you are in the presence of those who you love and dislike. And sometimes, because if you like someone, you always want to look be nice in front of that person, right? But then there is also someone you dislike. This person always bugging you, insult you, or make you be in trouble in front of you, those you like. That is really pain. I don't know if I'm carrying the situation. When I was a novice monk, and often because these international practitioners coming from their country to join the retreat, and then because I was novice, Sami, I was still in training. So our senior Snims used to tell me what to do. And if they are quite kind of toughy character, then sometimes they just yell at me, in front of people. Why? But in front of people who I love, who I want to look nice, I get this kind of insulting situation from someone who I don't like. You probably have that kind of experience. So that's suffering. And of course you understand the not getting what you desire. Maybe you hope your son went to Seoul University, or maybe at least went to some sky, but couldn't make it. You are not getting what you desire. That's pain. I'm not blaming them. Just when we have some kind of hope and expectation that doesn't happen, that's suffering. That's why Buddha even mentioned that's one of the 8 suffering, basic sufferings of human being. That's not good or bad. What you are desiring is itself is not good or bad. But you just look at yourself. The problem is when you attach to it, when you hold it and cannot just let go. Then that becomes a problem. So now the 8th suffering, which is the imbalance of the 5 skandhas, Om Sangho. So actually when we chant Heart Sutra, it's the 5 skandhas are mentioned, right? Form, feelings, 색수상행식, form, feelings, perception, impulse, consciousness, right? In Korean, you already understand well. Sometimes it's a little confusing, to be honest. But that's basically, in English, that's about the form. Form means, let's say, just our body, right? Form, feeling. Everybody understands the feeling. Good feeling, bad feeling. Confusing feeling, desperation, excitement, happy, lonely. It's all feelings. The third thing is impulse. It's a little more connected to your karma, impulse. You don't want to make that deed, action, but something just to push you to make it. You don't want to go the place, but your karma just lead you there. So that's impulse, 충동. And the perception. Yeah, perception is like something that you perceive so that have the cognition. So it's more related to this intellect, right? You perceive. And the last thing is consciousness. So this consciousness is she, right? And everyone understands well about the sixth consciousness that is rooted in your sixth sense, 아니비설신, right? So eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, thinking. So this consciousness and the feeling, just these five skandhas. The skandhas in Sanskrit meaning is like kind of piles of some it's like a aggregation. So 이렇게 쌓여 있는 거, right? So like aggregation of feelings, aggregation of what's this? Impulse, aggregation of perception, aggregation of consciousness. And what does it mean actually, the imbalance of those things? So feeling, impulse, perception, something missed. Form, body, right? Body, feeling, impulse, perception, consciousness, they are not in balance. You know, when you feel really kind of calm and clear, that means these five skandhas are in harmony. But often, your mind is not in rest. Or when you have to make some decision, let's say you have to now start some work, you need to get a job, but should you do this or do that? Or should you take a job or just study further in the university? Or must you get married with this guy or not? Or now you have to make a decision on your maybe parents. And it's often very difficult for you. If your five skandhas are in harmony, it's quite simple and clear. It's not about you made right or wrong decision, but your mind is very clarity, then actually any decision becomes right. So this the fifth one, this consciousness, again, there are like a sixth consciousness, but then there are also seventh consciousness, which is like a discriminating consciousness, which called malashik, right? 칠식. So just let me a little organize. So there's a sixth consciousness, everybody quite understand because it's rooted in our sixth sense. You know, it's like eye, but then eye looks the color. But if your body die, eye disappear, but still color exists. Then what was this thing that connect with your eye and then this color? That was actually eye consciousness. And the same, sound and your ear, what's between? Because you have ear consciousness. And tongue, taste, because there's, tongue consciousness. So these six senses are kind of basis. And then you start thinking about what's good color, what's good taste, what's bad sound, what's good thinking, bad thinking. In theory, that Buddha taught, that's seventh consciousness, malasha. So that's called in English actually discriminating consciousness. And what's then eighth consciousness? That's a nickname for that is a storehouse consciousness. It's like a computer chip. So everything that you see, hear, experience, even from previous life, is stored in that 8th consciousness, 저장식, right? 8식. So these consciousness often also fight each other. For example, let's say you are chanting, and then when we are actually chanting Heart Sutra, maybe someone was thinking something else. Right? Or if you actually have a job in this Dharma talk, after this Heart Sutra, I have to do this or do that. Or after this Dharma talk finish, what am I going to do? Or, it's just any kind of thinking popping up, even during chanting. Where does it from? You don't mean to think about it, but those kind of thinking just keep arising in your mind. That's from your storehouse consciousness, 8th consciousness. Anything that is stored, like computer chip, regardless your will, that just pops up. And it's called also in the dream, that's mostly from your 8th consciousness, storehouse. So where all this, movie in the night, in the dream, where do they come from? That's from your 8th consciousness, 저장식. So now I'm talking about this fighting of these 8 consciousness. How? During chanting, now your 6th consciousness is involved in this chanting. You are using your mouth, you are using your ear to hear the chanting, your voice and the other's voice, and you are doing maybe 합장, you're using your body. So these 6 consciousness are working during the chanting, but then suddenly this piece of memory that you were embarrassed in the past just pop up during the chanting, which means that's from 8th consciousness, right? Store consciousness. And then you start thinking about, I'm chanting Panya Shingyong. Why do I think about this? I have to just come back to chanting. That's the 7th consciousness, like a good or bad. Start discriminating about this situation. So, like 6, 7, 8, this consciousness are all involved in during chanting, fighting actually. And sometimes you really get bothered by the situation. And not just during the chanting. If your mind is not really in rest, often actually these all 8 consciousness are not in harmony. Sometimes maybe even among these 5 skandhas, your impulse or your feeling or your perception, cognition, or your consciousness don't really work together. Then your mind kind of feel like you're lost. So that's what used to happen. But fortunately, there is a very good way to deal with that. If you feel like these crazy people, especially if I come to Seoul in the busy street, I can see people who are struggling in this imbalance of 5 skandhas. If that becomes really worse, we call them crazy person. So sometimes you see on the street the people just talk to themselves. That means their thinking or their this perception, their this 7th consciousness, they're all kind of screwed up. So cannot really put all these 5 skandhas or 8 consciousness together. And then it's kind of, out of control. it become like an extreme, then we say that person is crazy, like talking to themselves on the street, or even if you are doing something, you cannot really concentrate. That's kind of mild version of craziness. We all probably sometimes experience that. How can we deal with that? That's all about mind. So as I brought as a topic, emptying your mind, or using your mind. Well, when you live this in the real world, you need to use your mind, right? Like even to go back to home after this talk, you will have to think about how to get there. If you have a car, of course you will drive. But if you have to use a subway or a bus, then you need to figure out what's the best way on Saturday night. You need to think, which means using your mind. Or now you have some trouble with your daughter, and she is so strong about her own idea, but you think your idea is actually right, and keep fighting, or maybe with your husband, then how can we deal in that situation? So that's all about using mind. But it's very interesting, like I just talked about using mind and emptying mind. Yeah, that person now speaking outside have to really use, she has to put her whole energy into now how to speak well, probably. But it's very interesting because these two things are not different. Only when you can empty your mind, like space, we used to say, 마음을 허공처럼 가져라. Keep your mind clear like a space. Then it's possible to use your mind meticulously, like the tip of the needle. Likewise, when you do something, like I'm now giving talk, you are listening. If you just keep your mind like a tip of a needle, which means, let's say if you are a teacher as your job, when you teach students, then only really 100% concentrate on teaching, which means you use your mind very meticulously. Then that means your mind is already empty. Your mind is clear like a space. That's why actually you can be so meticulous moment to moment about what you are doing, right? So it's not actually a different thing. That's actually, you are familiar with the teaching word in Korean that 마음을 항상 텅 빈 허공처럼 지니되 쓸 때는 바늘끝처럼 써라. So that means actually when you empty your mind, you are able to use your mind meticulously like tip of needle. On the other hand, let's say you are now driving, you really have to pay attention not to get accident. That means actually you are using your mind meticulously. That means your mind is empty. Your mind is clear like a space at the moment. So that's it sounds like the opposite actually, but actually it's pointing the same thing. There is because I actually practice, my means of my practice is Zen, Chamson. We also, one of the core element of the practice is a 공안 practice, like a 선문답, right? And in this time, these days, the 선문답 sounds quite, maybe for many people, a little kind of nonsense. And even if they practiced and they read a lot of classic of Zen teaching, when they actually face this 공안 practice, like Zen Q&A, then they feel like it's kind of not really connected with reality. But as a person who's practicing Zen, the benefit I have actually gotten from this 공안 practices is just priceless. So I would like to just share two 공안s which is connected to my topic. So the topic is about emptying your mind and using your mind. So everybody probably heard about this 공안, upper tree, 향엄상수. So this 공안 is actually introduced in the gateless gate, 무문관. There are three very famous classic 공안 book in Zen history. Blue Cliff Record, 벽암록, and the Gateless Gate, 무문관. The other one I forgot. Thanks to the noise. And then, but actually there's a four because actually 선문염송, written by actually a Korean master. So this upper tree, 향엄상수, is actually listed in Gateless Gate. And the 공안, as you know, there's always some short story that happened between great Zen master and student. And then there's some question about that. So now the 공안, the text is like this. You probably heard about this. So there is a man upon a tree. The tree is really tall. And then this man is hanging by his teeth. He's actually, the two hands are tied behind his back. So he cannot grab any branch or bough. And his feet cannot also touch the branch bough. He's now hanging up a tree by his teeth like this. So cannot do anything. And then another man under the tree asked this man up a tree, "Why did Bodhidharma come to China?" So the man up a tree, if he opens his mouth to answer, because it's a really tall tree. But on the other hand, if he doesn't open his mouth to keep hanging on the tree, the man asking the question under the tree will shoot and kill him because the man is evading his duty. So you can imagine the situation, right? So if he opens his mouth to answer, he'll fall and die. But if he doesn't open his mouth to keep hanging on, the guy under the tree will shoot and kill him. So now the question is, if you are the man up a tree, how can you stay alive? How can you stay alive?
Wake up the tree.
You open your mouth, you already fall.
Wake up the tree.
Yeah, so you open your mouth, so you already fall.
No, I mean suppose that there was tree.
Yeah, so that's your answer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you die. Huh? Just what? Just? His two hands behind his back.
What I'm saying is the situation itself is dream.
So you also dream.
So why wake up?
Why wake up?
No, I mean it was in the dream, so I wake up and then there's no situation.
That's very smart imagination. So truly, if you are up a tree now,
In reality.
because actually that's a reality, our reality. I was going to talk about that. Our reality, because you often stuck in some situation in real life, not up a tree. In real life, often you stuck in some situation, you cannot do anything. You cannot step forward or you cannot step backward. Just you completely stuck in situation. What can you do? So this is one example, one 공안 I wanted to share anyway. And then the second 공안 is, this is also listed in the gate list, 무문관, number 5. The upper tree, the previous 공안 was number 4 in gate list gate, 향언상수. So the second 공안 is, why does Bodhidharma have no beard? Is there Bodhidharma portrait here? Probably not. But anyway, so Hogamsansa asked the assembly in China, all the time in China, why does Bodhidharma have no beard? 왜 보리다르마가 수염이 없는가? 이렇게 물었어요. So, how can you answer? 보살님, why does Bodhidharma have no beard? Have you seen Bodhidharma's portrait? You never have seen the Bodhidharma portrait? Okay, someone who have seen it.
Good.
I'm sorry?
He has beard.
That's one way to answer. But then I will say, he has no beard. Why do you? Well, he has no beard. So why does he have no beard?
Painter did not draw it.
Huh?
Painter did not draw it.
It's like cartoon. No.
He's shaving every morning.
A lot of good answers, but no. So, well, this is not just some kongan that I have made up. That's why I told you those are in gate, Mumungwan. It's a classic. All Zen practitioners in history, a few centuries, have worked on this kongan. And of course, these days, if I share this, especially if Zen is not your flavor, then this is just nonsense. Oh, what is this for? Better I just go just to make maybe $10 more for my life. Why do you work on this? But this is very important because it's also connected to my topic today. Unless you don't your mind empty, clear like a space, you never get the core point of this upper tree kongan. This kongan is not actually, Kosanin gave a good answer when he told me that, okay, wake up the dream. But every kongan has a different point. It's like everything is actually pointing the one thing, but to deal with that quality of the kongan, there are different kind of point that you have to share. Sometimes you better just to keep silence, or sometimes you can make some action, or as you said, everything is a dream. What's not dream? So this kongan, upper tree, again, let me just remind you, this man, his two hands tied behind his back, and just upon a tree hanging by his teeth, one branch. Cannot do anything. If you open his mouth, as soon as he opens his mouth, he will fall die. Well, psychologically, sometimes you face this situation. And another man up under the tree asked him, why did Bodhidharma come to China? So if that guy opens his mouth to answer, he'll fall and die. But if he doesn't open his mouth and keep hanging on, the guy will just shoot and kill him. How can you stay alive? If your mind is not really emptied, if your mind is not clear like space, you keep thinking the smart answers, you never get this point of this koan. So that's why I shared this one. Connect to empty your mind. And this is not just we are like intellectually playing with this some classic kongan. No, this always happening in our daily life. There are many times that you cannot do anything. What can you do? How can you stay alive? Staying alive doesn't mean just your body is alive. Sometimes mentally you die. So how can you stay alive? Very important. It's about how to empty your mind. And the second kongan, the quality of this kongan, like let's say more like a view of this kongan, this why does Bodhidharma have no beard? If your mind is very meticulous at this moment, you can hit my mind. The person who is asking this question. Gosa님, why does Bodhidharma have no beard? 보리달마가 왜 수염이 없어요? 예? Actually, if you don't know, you say don't know is actually better. Rather than you maybe start thinking and try to be clever, because that's how we are screwed up in our daily life. Like when we face some that kind of situation, because we think we understand something, we have a lot of this opinion idea that we learned, studied, then we make this some solution with this cleverness, and it often screw up even worse. If you actually don't know, it's even better, often. Because you don't know, then actually there are less problem. So this kongan, why does Bodhidharma have no beard? At this moment, your mind very meticulous, clear, then you can hit my mind. So Zemel Sungsan, this also in the kongan book that he edited, and then he also made extra questions, commentary, and the comment very, very interesting. If there is someone who tried to cheat you, deceive you, they always make something. If somebody tried to cheat you, I don't know, on business or in human relationship, then those people usually make always something. They make up. So that was his comment on this kongan. So I'm asking you, Seonshi Bosallim, why does Bodhidharma have no beard? So
Only I don't know.
oh, okay. You don't want to have problem, right? That's good. So if someone like, 보살님 셔츠가 빨간색이 아주 예뻐요. Your shirts, your jacket. It's something like that. So that's why I anyway brought these two kongan as a kind of last part of my talk. I think all of you probably understand. When I just started practicing Zen, when I heard this teaching word that like sky never said, I'm sky. River never said, I'm river. Human made all the names, ideas, and they attach to it, and suffering. That really struck my mind. So that's why I thought probably Zen is best way to find the truth. Because, yeah, it's a sky, 하늘, but maybe that's not true. So there's one object there that Korean people call 하늘, but in English that's sky. There are millions of names for that. So which one is correct? But if that's even an idea or conception, people think that this is true, this is not true. I just believed in what I heard and learned. Maybe it's not true. So that's why I thought I was attracted by the Zen, because Zen was said that it's about mind to mind. It's even beyond the word or idea or conception. Maybe that's even more accurate, precise, to hit the point and connect each other, mind to mind. So that's why I picked this topic about empty mind and using mind, and share these two kongens just to give you some idea that when you practice maybe chamsan as one of your practice ways, then it sounds in the beginning a little bit maybe nonsense, but when our Kosanim answered, don't know, if you completely don't know, that means zero, then that means actually everything is connected with you. When we have this idea I, then there is always some separation, I and you, so that all the opposites appear. But the Zen idea, first, don't know. That means this I disappear, then what's not I? Everything is I. When I see the floor, brown. When I see the lantern, pink. When I disappear, your true I connect with everything. When you see, hear, smell, touch, think, mind to mind. So that's why this don't know is very important. If that's pure don't know 100%, actually that's the true substance of human being, true nature of our human being. And this true nature, true substance, is not just shared by the human, it's shared by whole universe. I disappear, which means you return to this don't know, become zero, then actually everything is you. That's the first step of Zen practice, mind to mind. When Dayanshin Bosalim just keeps don't know 100%, I keep my don't know 100%, exactly same. Only form is maybe different. We share the same substance. And not just the two of us. If he keeps don't know while sitting, we're exactly the same substance. Not just a human. This floor, this mat, sky, river, they share the exactly same substance. That's the very first step of Zen practice, and actually also last step. Because only when you attain this substance, truth appears. Sky is blue, river flows. We have a lot of idea about truth, but very often without getting this substance. That's why fighting. That's why fighting. About all these different form, names. But basically, if you have attained this truth, substance, don't know, then truth appears. And then Buddhism is about how to use this truth correctly. Which means, in reality, you have female body, I have male body, I'm a monk, I'm Korean. Only if you attach to the name and form, then again problem. But you attain this truth. Even if I'm a monk, even if you are a lay person, or even if you are a woman, I'm a man, the substance, the true nature is exactly the same. You attain that, and then you attain the truth, color, form, name, how to digest it, how to function with the truth. That's wisdom, right? So that's all about how our mind actually work. I hope this classic topic mind, in some way that I wish to share, was passed on to you today. And just as a short story, just a few days, I think it was a couple of years ago, it's still during Corona restrictions were quite strict. I read some article, newspaper in England. There was one guy who was just to cook dinner. He went to supermarket in his town and he bought this bag of broccoli, because it's England, broccoli, and then he came to, maybe you have heard about this story. He came to home and they just start, opening the wrap of the broccoli, and then he saw a few caterpillars, this worm in the broccoli. This is a kind of a green bugs, caterpillar. So, but this guy had a very good mind. I think he's just a natural practitioner, even if he doesn't know about Zen or religion at all. And then, rather than he was angry, he thought, oh, this guy is so poor, this worm, this caterpillar. And then he just put aside, and then he went back to the supermarket, and he told the owner that happened. And the owner apologized, and he gave him new broccoli. So he took it to home, and he opened it. Now there were more caterpillars there. So if ordinary people, then they are just got upset probably, and maybe even sue. But he thought at the moment there must have some kind of inyan, karma. What a beautiful mind guy, right? He's a young man. So he didn't go back to supermarket. He decided to raise them, these caterpillars. So he started feeding them. He even named them like Jenny, Cato, or James. And he raised all these bugs, caterpillar. And then after a while, they all became beautiful butterflies. And then actually, when I read that article in the newspaper, there was a photo that the moment he was releasing these butterflies from the caterpillar, and these green butterflies, beautifully, they were just flying around him like a while. They wouldn't leave him. Apparently, if you saw the photo, you feel like they are really appreciating, right? So even animals, this mind is very, very interesting, mysteriously working. That how you actually make up your mind, or how you wish to empty and use your mind, I think that really make your life also different. So I hope, when I was choosing this topic, it must be a little too boring, because always mind in Buddhism. But still, that's some topic that has to be worked on by everyone, probably to the last of his life. So I hope this also helps you. Well, I have probably some, it usually takes about 2 hours. If you have any questions or any sharing, please feel free. If you have a question or if you would like to share some comment or your own story or about 국제 보교사 story, any question about 국제 보교사, because I don't know anything, so probably I'm brave to talk about that. I'm sorry, it was a little joke. Any question? Well, actually, my job is actually not very different from what you are doing as a Buddhist, as I'm a practitioner, because I'm living in Musangsa. I was inspired a lot by Dharma Sunsan's teaching. That's why eventually I became monk. And my kind of karma inyan is like, I don't know, I really didn't mean, but more like in international Sangha. Basically, it's not different from what all these Buddhist Sunims and practitioners are doing, but my kind of integration is more, I think, international Buddhist Sangha. So you are also belong to this group, International Dharma Instruction. So we have some kind of similar direction. So if you have any question about that too, I can share. Or anything about the talk I just shared. Is there usually some question or no question in this group? That maybe give me some idea.
Why does the Dharma have appeared?
Pardon? Yeah, you are international Dharma instructor, so be brave. Don't worry about the mistake. What did you ask?
Why does Dharma have a beard?
Why Bodhidharma have no beard?
And no beard.
That's a big question. So I ask you back, why does Bodhidharma have no beard? If you actually...
Answer only I don't know.
I said that's not bad, but do you have any new answer? Because, I picked this Kungan as to connect to how to use your mind meticulously. There can be hint. It's also more related to our daily life. Because why there's always some quarrel, argument, fighting, because of different ideas. You say, Bodhidharma has beard, but I can keep saying that Bodhidharma has no beard. Then fighting? No, that's not Buddhist teaching. If you are a practitioner and if you actually follow Buddha's teaching, well, of course, be patient and be nice is one good way, but that never bring the ultimate solution, because somebody tried to cheat you. So if you are a practitioner and your mind very clear and meticulous, this is about how to hit this guy's mind. You say, don't know, that's good, but that doesn't really... Well, this guy then really now start hitting everyone. Bodhidharma have no beard. Well, actually, Kongan, I'm not supposed to talk too much. But this is time to talk about, right? But I never give you the really big hint yet. Yeah. You face that situation, definitely. You have actually had that experience a lot. And how can you handle this? One, Kosanim answered previously that Bodhidharma has beard. That's one way to say. But often then, we end up some argument because of different idea. And that happens in daily life a lot. And if you know the truth, so we used, this Kung Fu movies, So kung fu movies, the Jackie Chan, Songnyeong, we like that movie because if you probably have watched, he usually use something that the opponent is using. For example, the opponent is using some sword, and suddenly this Jackie Chan grab it and use that. So this Kongan is something like that. So that's why I say your mind become very meticulous, which means actually your mind is very kind of like a space. Then you see something that you can hit back. Anyway, that should be enough comment about that question. Does anybody have any other questions or?
Wow.
Yeah.
It is very good to see you again. 45 years ago, I remember that I have seen you and you came here to deliver your Dharma talk at the time.
Yeah.
And you look the same as you were.
I'm sorry?
You are still very vivid and clean, and your voice is very clean.
Oh, thank you. Good micro system.
I no need the microphone. So, do you have any special method not that old?
I think it's because of your good eyes and good ears.
Yes, it is. Even 45 years I've seen, but your face outlooking, appearance is always the same.
That's a good compliment. Thank you. Well, I just do together things in Musangsa always, and try to keep my daily schedule always. Well, we always get up at 4 a.m. and the first thing we all do there is 100-day bow. I never miss it. Actually, even if I travel, I never miss that. Sometimes I go to some other countries and then I end up maybe staying in a hotel. Then I do my bow in the morning. And well, because you're asking about some technique, some practical technique, I guess. And then if I'm in Musangsa, then I hardly miss, unless I'm very busy, all this daily practice, morning and evening. In Musangsa, that's basic schedule. If you stay there, you have to join it. So that's one, I think, a big advantage, that no matter that you like or dislike, you just join what community do. So morning, we do 100-day bow as a first practice. We do chanting together. We do always one sitting period. Evening, we do chanting for 1 hour together. We do one period of sitting. During Heje, during Kyolche, that's longer. So probably that's one of the benefits that I can maintain my practice, and I'm glad to hear that I look kind of okay. But I used to say, people who are coming outside to practice to Musangsa, actually, you guys need that kind of regular practice even more than me. Because I'm living in the temple, so no matter what the events or scheduled drama happen there, I have to join the basic practice, formal practice. That keeps me on, my job as a practitioner. But you live outside the temple as a lay person, it's easy for you to get getting loosened up with your formal practice. But I think it's even more important for lay people. If you understand this practice is important, I think it's more important for lay people to practice, to keep practicing, continue on regular basis at home. Because you have to face all this kind of tough situation in job, in relationship, business. before I became monk, I was a student, university student, and then because I kind of realized that this practice is very important for me, then I started like making up my schedule, getting up like I was a little crazy to become monk, so like I get up at 3 a.m. and then until I become monk, actually at my home, I always do like 500 bows. So that gave me some kind of energy. My body was a little tired, but definitely my mind and the activity was more clear because my direction was clear. So living outside a temple as a lay practitioner, I know also when you get aged, it's even more difficult. But I don't mean that actually you have to go beyond your limit. For example, your body condition is not strong enough to do 100-day bow, or how about 50 bows? If you cannot, how about then even 3 bows, but every day? Because that keeps your speed. You don't forget. And someday that becomes habit. You know, just because you gave the Zemel Sungsan, I was, when I was living in Hwagesa, so when I was a Hengja, my job was like doing Doryangseok, waking up Moktak. So in the morning, I wake up, because it was 3 a.m. Doryangseok starts, I had to wake up 2:30 a.m. when I was Hengja, because I have to, dress up, and I have to get ready, open the Buddha hall, and then I start Doryangseok, waking up Moktak, walking around the whole yard temple. And Zemel Sungsan's room was like a little behind in the temple. And then one passage that I have to always go through was behind his dormitory. That's a residential building. And it was very kind of a humble, small building where he was living. And then I was walking behind his bathroom. There was a small window. And if he stays in the temple, whenever I passing his bathroom behind, always the window already light on. That's 3 a.m. And he was already over 70. And I was wondering what he does, because he hardly show up actually in public 예불. Then that time, 혜통스님, a Korean nun who was attendant, so she understands his schedule very well, from like the time he wakes up until he goes to bed in the night. And I asked her what he does. He was already older than 70. He wakes up 2:30 a.m. He starts his bowing in his room. Actually, it was 2 a.m. He already goes to the bed in the night earlier. But then he wakes up always, she told me, 2 a.m. he wakes up, he starts doing his bowing. Until 60 years old, he used to do 1,000 bow every day. Every day. I'm not lying, because his Western students all witnessed that. But then, after 60 years old, his body, of course, started to be a little, fall apart. And then he started reducing his bow. When I saw like his bathroom door, window always light on, that was already, he was older than 70. Then 혜통스님 told me, because he cannot even make 100-day bows anymore, prostration at the time. He had a big problem on his knee. So what he does, now the Bosalim is now behind you, there is a pile of the seat cushions, just like that. Zemel Sungsan pile up about this height. And he bow 100-day bow, which means actually he doesn't all the way down his whole body, because he had a big problem on his knee. He just pile about these cushions, this height, and he only his upper body. 1, 2, 3, 108 times. And then, when he gets older, he even couldn't make it. And one time when he was giving Dharma talk, he told us, because he cannot make bowing anymore, for example, when he take a flight to go to other Zen center in other country, and it's time to bow, then he imagined that he is making prostration. He count 1, 2, 3, make 100 bow. So I'm not meaning physically you have to make every day 100 bow. Well, it will be wonderful if you can, but the bigger point is your mindset. Like Zen Sung-san, if your body is not able to make it anymore, there's still some way that you can practice every day, right? So that's why I'm saying that if it's too difficult for you to make 100 bow, well, how about 50? How about 3 bows every day? That really keeps your spirit clear. Yeah. So I think it is very important. He always emphasized on our direction. Why do we practice? Why do we live this life, actually? If that becomes clear, many things become clear in your life. We have small and big issues in our life. But if you have really clear direction, this all small and big problem interests me and disappear. Oh, of course, there is always some difficulties. But if your direction is so clear, that isn't that so difficult. Because you understand, you will overcome that. I'm from Garyong. I came to Seoul, Beoblyeonsa. In my navigation in the car, I put Beoblyeonsa. I type 1 time, right? And then the navigation tell me moment to moment what to do. Make a left turn, make a right turn, go forward 100 meters, which means you have your clear direction in your practice and in your life. Let's say 4 great bows, so on. That's our great 4 bows, 4 great direction. That's our direction. That's like I typed that in my navigation. You don't need to keep typing it to navigation. 1 time is enough. And what's important? Now, when you drive, you already know the navigation understands your direction, and then moment to moment, you keep your mind clear, meticulously, so that when that says make a left turn, you have to make a left turn. If your mind is not clear, your mind is not empty, not meticulous, you may be thinking something else, you make right turn. It will take a longer time to get to your destination, right? So, Dharma Sung-san always, doesn't matter it's Zen practice or your Buddhist practice or your own practice, your direction must be clear. Why do you practice? Why do you live this life? That will bring you a lot of good answer. You are now facing a lot of big and small issues in relationship, in business, but just sometime ask yourself, what is my direction? Why do I live this life? That will probably bring you very good keyword for these issues. That's the direction. But then what to do? Moment to moment, like a navigation, you have to hear clear. You have to make the direction clear, which means moment to moment, keep don't know, then whatever you see, hear, think, touch will be clear at that moment to moment. So, clear direction. Keep clear. Keep trying to be clear moment to moment. These are like 2 great wings in our practice and in our life. And then, when you set up the direction, see very far. 이렇게 세세생생. Even after this life, my direction will be there. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. That's my direction. Even after this life. How strong would it be? Many problems are not that difficult if you have the strong direction. Even after this life, I vow to save all beings. I vow to cut all thinking, delusions. I vow to learn all great teachings. I vow to attain Buddha way. So your direction is such clear, strong, many everyday issues, you will feel very different with that. So clear direction and keep trying with your clear mind. So I hope that helped you and help. Are you raising your hand?
Yeah.
Yes.
During meditation,
Yeah.
if my mind becomes foggy, I have foggy mindedness. How could I get out of that foggy mind?
Get out of that. So
I can walk around and sit again and still foggy minded.
well, actually, if you realize that your mind is already somewhere, like your mind is
Not somewhere, but
foggy.
foggy.
Yeah. Same. Anyway, if your mind is foggy, that means that that's a great moment. You already woke up. Because if your mind seriously foggy like a black hole, you even don't realize that. But if the moment you realize my mind is foggy, then just return to your practice technique. What's your practice technique? Do you use Hadu, or do you count your breath? Or what do you do as a technique of your practice while sitting? What's your practice technique?
Which the breathe in, breathe out.
Okay, come back to that.
And then still, mind becomes sometimes foggy.
Sometimes, of course,
Not
sometimes
sleepy, but
you're lucky if it's not often, only sometimes. You're a strong practitioner because most of people are often foggy, but you are just sometimes foggy. So, we actually, it's also about our mind. We human beings already understand what we should do. Only because we don't just do it. That's why we are often lost. Like Dharma Teacher used to say, look at the animals. They don't think much. They don't check much. They just, like a dog, they just wagging their tails, they like jump on you, but if they don't like you, they just bite you. Their mind is very simple. They don't check, they don't think, they attain the moment. They just do it. Tree, rocks, they never think, they never check. The human's big problem is checking and thinking a lot. Checking others, checking myself. They never can just do it. Never can attain the moment. We understand we have to just do it. It's a long time habit, mind habit. So you have to just do it. As soon as you realize your mind is foggy, return to breathing, perceiving your breath. That's it. Only the problem is you cannot just do it. You just keep thinking, oh, maybe this practice technique is not so good for me because it doesn't work well. Maybe I have to find a better one. Oh, no, actually, some teacher told me I have to stick around with this technique. We just keep checking, thinking, just cannot just do it. So I just compare this with the animal's mind. Animal is very simple, but it doesn't mean that actually they are superior to human. We have this issue, human being. We think a lot, but when the thinking, checking is digested, human being attain this compassion. Animals, their mind is very simple but very narrow. They can attain the moment, they only attain the moment for themselves. They never understand the other being's situation. They never understand the other being's suffering. Human being different. Although we think a lot, we check a lot, we also understand the other's suffering, the other's pain, which is wider. So only if our mind becomes very simple and clear, then you attain this compassion. The animal cannot do that. That's the big difference between animal and human. That's why also supposed to be human being is kind of how can I say? Even like a sixth realm, human being is in the upper realm. So anyway, I understand the Kosanim's question is actually everybody's question. Even if we practice, we always face that problem. We sit, no matter what kind of technique you used to get lost. But the answer is actually very simple. And all about this Chamsa, Zen, is about strengthen your just doing it mind. It's not going to be help you at all if you keep thinking about how can I get out of this foggy mind. You have to just come back to your practice technique. We used to say like when you have to get up, probably much younger people have this more problem that they like set up the alarms more 5 or 6 times to get up in the morning, but it's very still difficult to get up with the alarm. What is the best way? When can you really get up? You can get up only when you just get up. Right? The alarms sometimes does not. So saying while maybe doing chamsan, sitting meditation, your mind get lost or foggy, or there are many various symptoms, but there's only one solution. As soon as you realize that your mind is foggy or get lost, just come back to your practice technique. If you're keeping Hwadu, just come back to your Hwadu, Imokko. Hwadu is not about, ultimately, many people misunderstand. Hwadu is not about actually getting the correct answer. Well, you can say maybe different way, but if you say like, okay, I got an answer for this Hwadu, that means there's already subject and object. Oh, my Hwadu practice is going well. I'm keeping my Hwadu very well. That means I, subject, is keeping object Hwadu. That is not authentic Hwadu practice. Only just come back to Imokko, what is this? Which means you are the question, the Hwadu is you. There's no subject object. There's no inside outside. You are Imokko is you. That's authentic Hwadu practice technique. That's what I'm saying. If you are using Hwadu as your practice during sitting meditation, your mind, as soon as you realize your mind is foggy or get lost, just come back to Imokko. Don't think anything else. Just come back. Come back. Come back. Hope that helps. Anyway, thank you very much coming and attending, listening to my talk. Maybe someday see you again.
Thank you very much for your kind Dharma talk given for us. I'd like to suggest to express our thanks with the people of Los Angeles.